Revealed. 4 women received unlimited cards. But the maid's life-changing act was truly unexpected. Samantha, Aisha, Julia, and Claire couldn't believe their luck. Nestled in their suburban neighborhood outside Chicago, these 4 friends had recently stumbled upon what felt like pure bliss. A set of unlimited credit cards. It was a silly dream come true. A chance to escape their daily grind of work and family responsibilities. They threw elegant dinner parties, indulged in luxurious spa days, and perched atop designer heels that sparkled like their new lives. Laughter echoed around the airy restaurants as they clinked wine glasses, their eyes bright with excitement. But outside the bubble of their fortune, Maria watched. In her late 40s, Maria was an unassuming maid, the backbone of sacrifice and hard work, as she cleaned the homes of these privileged friends. Juggling 2 children alone, she toiled tirelessly, her own dreams stifled by relentless obligations. Yet to the 4 friends, she remained invisible, a background figure in their fairy tale life. One afternoon, while Maria was dusting the shelves in Aisha's tastefully decorated living room, something caught her eye. Aisha, beaming in a new extravagant outfit, tossed something into the trash. A bag marked for donation to the local food bank. Maria's heart sank. It wasn't just a bag of clothes. It was a lifeline for families like hers, struggling to make ends meet. Anger bubbled within her. Why should anyone be careless when others fought for every single crumb? That day, Maria decided to act. With renewed determination, Maria began planning a community event to uplift struggling families. She envisioned a vibrant gathering at the local park, a celebration of hope and unity. As the days passed, she hung flyers, each word a call to action, sparking curiosity in the neighbors. Meanwhile, the 4 women reveled in their high-end dinners, blissfully unaware of the community crumbling around them, still clouded by the glimmer of their newfound wealth. But small signs of life returned to their world. The laughter of children echoed through alleyways, and the hum of conversation at the local food pantry grew louder. Gradually, the fabric of their neighborhood tugged at their hearts, whispering reminders of moments they once cherished. Layered feelings of guilt began to rise, but they brushed them off, too wrapped up in their indulgence. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the event day approached, tensions brewed. Arguments flared as the friends confronted their growing disconnect. They were faced with questions of privilege, friendship, and community. What did it mean to be friends when one group soared high on indulgence while another barely scraped by? Maria, weighed by responsibility and fear, sensed the magnitude of her efforts hovering over her like a storm. The day of the event arrived, and as Maria stood on the makeshift stage, a hush fell over the crowd. With heartfelt words, she spoke of community, empathy, and the strength found in unity. It was an emotional moment, layered with raw honesty. The air felt thick, charged with anticipation as the 4 friends watched, realization dawning. Just as they began to consider their choices and the impact of their actions, an unexpected twist unfolded that would shake the foundations of their friendship. The silence was heavy. Maria's voice trembled slightly, but she pressed on. We are stronger together. Our community is struggling, but we have the power to lift each other up. Her words hung in the air, resonating with people who had gathered families, friends, those who were in need of hope. A gasp rippled through the crowd when she revealed her plan. A resource fair, offering food, clothing, and job assistance. As she spoke, the 4 women exchanged worried glances. Julia, who had always prided herself on her compassion, felt her heart sink. She had thought that wealth could shine a light on problems. But now, as she listened to Maria, she was served a raw truth. Aisha's face blanched. The colorful dress she had worn to the event suddenly felt drab against the richness of Maria's words. Claire clenched her fist around the wine glass, struggling with the guilt that washed over her. Although the event was in full swing, their glamorous lives began to crumble in their minds. The audience erupted into applause and cheers as Maria concluded her speech, her passion igniting hope in the hearts of many. But as Maria stepped down from the stage, feelings of hope intertwined with fear. What if they all failed? What if nobody showed up? Questions whirled in her mind even as she smiled at the crowd. Perhaps realization had dawned on her friends, but how deep would their commitment to change run? Days blended into one another as buzz about the event spread. Children played joyously on the park's playground. Families smiled as they picked up donated clothes, and laughter echoed in the air. Yet, for the four friends, it became a moment of truth. Each of them wrestled with the stark reality of comfort versus compassion. Questions gnawed at their resolve. Could they actually make a difference? Or would they simply return to their lavish lives once the excitement of the event subsided? Finally, Samantha could contain herself no longer. "We need to help," she breathed out, taking the first step toward an unexpected transformation. How do we start? It was a question that raised the stakes for all of them. The anxiety, the guilt, the lives they'd been living crammed into that one beautiful question. Maria noticed them standing off to the side. Her heart raced. Would they join her, or would they retreat back to their gilded cages? The moment felt suspended in time, as if the world had turned its eyes toward them, waiting for an answer. Resolved to act, Maria walked over, hope and uncertainty intermingling in her chest. "Are you here to help?" she asked, her voice steady yet vulnerable. The air snapped in the charged silence, as the four women knew in that moment they stood at a crossroads. They would either lean into their privilege or leap toward empathy. Their response would not only determine the fate of this event but would reshape their very friendship. With hearts pounding, they opened their mouths to speak. But before their words could form, a sudden disturbance caught everyone's attention. An unexpected figure lurked in the shadows at the edge of the park, their presence casting an eerie chill over the gathering. The crowd shifted uneasily, their murmurs painting a backdrop of confusion. Whispers danced through the air, carrying the weight of uncertainty. The figure remained partially obscured, but every eye seemed drawn to them, hearts racing as anticipation thickened. Maria's mind raced. Who was this person? What did they want? As the figure stepped forward, gasps rippled through the crowd again. But this time it wasn't just curiosity stirring. It was recognition. The shadow revealed a familiar face. It was Rachel, a member of the community they had all lived so far away from. A woman whose struggles were plain and whose spirit had never dimmed, even when life dealt her rough cards. Maria felt a jolt of realization, her heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and a flicker of hope. Rachel's resilience had always been an inspiration. But now, with the potential for the resource fair hanging in the balance, could her spirit carry the same weight? "Can we help?" Rachel's voice was steady, but tired, laden with the burdens she'd carried. "I heard what you're planning. I want in." The authority she held packed a punch that struck the four friends squarely in the gut. Suddenly, the momentum felt real. The stakes were higher than they'd imagined, and they weren't the only ones standing at a crossroads. Clara's thoughts spiraled. Did she have the courage to finally step up? The guilt she had felt before began to morph into something heavier. The realization that Rachel, someone who had been through the fire, was asking for their help made her pulse quicken. This wasn't just an event. It was a potential lifeline. "What do you need from us?" Julia asked, taking a step forward, her voice trembling with sincerity. "I need your connections," Rachel said, her eyes shiny with determination. "You have access to resources. Together we can create something powerful. But it's not just about the resources. It's about seeing us all as equals, as neighbors, no matter who you are or where you came from." A heated silence engulfed the group, and for a moment, the world around them fell away. The women could feel the heaviness of their previous lives pressing against their chests. Maria stood breathless. It was an invitation to transform their entire experience, not just for them, but for the sprawling community that had already begun to buzz with excitement. Aisha's colorful dress, once a symbol of her perceived opulence, suddenly felt like too much fabric, weighty and heavy. Guilt surged. What could they do that would truly matter? Passion ignited within her, and before she could think twice, she blurted out, "We'll help you plan it, Rachel. We'll get the businesses involved. It's time we stepped up, not just in that park but in our lives." The words hung in the air, charged with purpose. One by one, the other women nodded, caught up in a wave of determination that felt almost electric. As Maria's heart swelled with hope, a cry echoed from the far end of the park. It was a child, no older than 5, shouting out for help. His mother had collapsed on the grass. The laughter and joy of the community froze, a thick silence descending once more. "What now?" Aisha asked, panic rising, as their moment of resolution shattered in an instant, replaced by fear. Was this a sign? Had they gone too far, too quickly? The crowd shifted, eyes wide with concern as they turned. All 4 women felt a rush of urgency. Were they ready to step into action? Did they have the strength to face not just their inner doubts, but the very real struggles unfolding before them? Now, with the stakes raised even higher, the question lingered heavy in the air. Who would they become in this moment of crisis? Would they turn away again, or stand together for what truly mattered? Maria's heart raced as she looked toward the child, a small figure balancing on the edge of chaos. The little boy's voice carried desperation, piercing through the fog of uncertainty that had wrapped around them all. Every fiber of Maria's being wanted to rush to the child, to comfort him and bring order back to the festering confusion. "Let us go." Julia's voice broke through the thick air. She took off toward the boy, each step fueled by an unexpected strength that ignited inside her. The other 3 women exchanged glances, fear and determination reflecting in their eyes. They couldn't hesitate, not now. As they hurried forward, the crowd parted like the sea, revealing the crumpled form of the boy's mother. Maria knelt beside her, seeing the shallow rise and fall of her chest and the tightness of her face. She reached out instinctively, feeling for a pulse. It was faint, but it was there, a thread of life still vibrant amidst the turmoil. "Someone call 911, Rachel shouted, and a ripple of action surged through the crowd. The tension in the air morphed into a frantic urgency as people grabbed their phones. The little boy trembled beside her, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Mommy!" he cried out, voice quaking, each syllable heavy with a child's fear. Maria turned to the boy, pushed aside her own nerves, and gave him a steady smile. "She just needs help, buddy. Help is coming." The words tumbled out of her with more conviction than she felt. Aisha shot forward, her colorful dress flowing behind her like a cape. "Stay with him, Maria. I'll help the paramedics." She dashed away, her heart pounding but fueled by purpose. Claire knelt next to Maria, her voice low. "What do we do?" she whispered, her brow furrowed. "We keep him calm," Maria replied, pulling the boy closer. She hugged him gently, wishing she could absorb his fear into her own strength. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lucas," he croaked, his little hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Lucas," she repeated, holding on to the sound like a lifeline. "You're so brave. Your mom is a fighter, just like you. Let us take deep breaths together. Okay?" As they breathed in and out, the crowd's murmur started to soften, transforming from anxious whispers to supportive chants. "Help is on the way," someone called, and a chorus of voices soon joined in, compounding the atmosphere with a shared sense of hope. Rachel reappeared, her face flushed but focused. "Lucas, they will be here any second. You can do this." Her eyes sparkled with conviction that spilled over to Maria and Claire. Every moment felt like an eternity, yet they all clung to the belief that they were making a difference. Just then, the wail of sirens sliced through the heavy air, a welcome sound promising salvation. Relief washed over Maria, but it didn't wash away the nagging fear that lingered. Could they really handle this? If the stakes were this high today, what would tomorrow look like? Lucas pointed toward the approaching ambulance, his small frame trembling. "Is she gonna be okay?" he asked, his big eyes searching theirs for an answer. Maria swallowed hard, wanting to believe with every ounce of her heart. Yes, she is, she said, though a part of her still wrestled with doubt. Each breath felt heavier now, the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. As the paramedics rushed in and took over, Maria felt a new fire igniting within her. This moment was a catalyst. They could no longer just plan a resource fair, they needed a plan for their lives, for Lucas, and for the community that depended on them. Standing there, they had just crossed a threshold, and their purpose felt clearer than ever. But the real question hung suspended in the air. What would it take to take this urgency and transform it into something lasting? When the crowd began to disperse, Maria felt the weight of expectation upon her. They had only just begun to scratch the surface of a much larger battle. A battle for compassion, connection, and commitment. Who would they be when the dust settled? And would their transformation be enough to carry them forward? As the sirens faded into the distance, Maria's heart thumped wildly beneath her ribs. Lucas sat beside her, his small body still trembling but slowly finding some comfort in the collective warmth of the women gathered around him. They had plunged into the chaos, but here, with the sirens echoing like a heartbeat, things felt slightly more manageable. For now. Claire took a deep breath, glancing at the remaining spectators who were peeling away, but she didn't move. We did everything we could, right? The question hung in the air, heavy and unsteady, like a tightrope that threatened to snap. Yes, we did, Maria replied, her voice low but steady, as if she were trying to convince herself just as much as Claire. But this isn't just about today. Just then, Aisha returned, slightly disheveled and flushed from her sprint. The paramedics are with her now, she said, relief flooding her features. They've got everything under control. Maria turned to Lucas, who was finally starting to wipe his tears, each shaky breath marking a small victory. See? Help is here. Your mommy is in good hands. The words slipped from her tongue, but doubts clawed at her mind. Would it be enough? We need to do more, Julia piped in, a fierce light igniting in her eyes. The determination that had pushed her forward earlier was back, stronger than ever. We can't just wait until something like this happens again. We need to create a network, a safety net for families like Lucas's. Aisha nodded vigorously, the strands of her colorful dress dancing with enthusiasm. Yes, let us do it for them. We can organize community events, teach first aid, provide resources. We can build this together. Maria felt the fire spreading among them, warming her from within. It was a seed that had been planted when they first decided to plan the resource fair. This was about more than just one day. This was about building resilience, creating connections, and fostering hope. But where do we start? Claire asked, her brow furrowed in thought. Let us gather people, Julia said spontaneously, excitement bubbling in her voice. We can host a meeting, explain what just happened, show everyone how they can help. The more hands we have, the stronger we'll be. Exactly, Aisha exclaimed. This isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about building a community ready to respond when someone is in need. We'll plan this while it's fresh. Gather resources, promote awareness. This time next week, we can be launching our very first community meeting. Maria felt the rush of adrenaline as hope flared anew, mingling with lingering apprehension. They had witnessed the fragility of life in an instant, but they could also be the force for change. Let us do it, she said, passion burning brighter within her. We owe it to Lucas and everyone else out there. As the group broke from the initial shock and buzzed with ideas, Maria took a moment to look around, feeling the unmistakable power in their shared resolve. They were stepping into uncharted territory, and while uncertainty loomed ahead, so did the promise of connection and healing. But as she looked at Lucas, who now seemed somewhat reassured, the question gnawed at her. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if change was slow, painful, and uncertain? With every heartbeat echoing the urgency of the moment, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something great. Yet the real work lay ahead. What if their journey meant confronting not just the chaos outside, but the turmoil within themselves too? With determination and just a hint of doubt fueling her soul, Maria felt ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. "Let's change the world," she whispered. But as she looked back at Lucas, who seemed to have momentarily lost interest in their conversation, she wondered if he would have the strength to keep believing in that change, or would his innocence slip away into the shadows of uncertainty. The next few days blurred into a tapestry of urgency and hope. Maria barely slept, her mind abuzz with ideas, the weight of their promise to Lucas and the community settling heavily on her shoulders. Each morning was the same. She woke up determined, thinking of Lucas and what it might take to build a supportive network that wouldn't falter when the next crisis struck. The community meeting was scheduled for Friday evening. Julia had spread the word far and wide, with Aisha crafting flyers that shimmered with vibrant colors, calling for a gathering of neighbors, parents, and anyone willing to lend a hand. But as much as Maria felt the thrill of anticipation, a twinge of anxiety gnawed at her insides. On that Friday, the early evening sun dipped low, casting a warm golden hue over the park. Maria arrived early, her heart racing as she watched people trickle in. Families grasped hands, children ran with laughter, their carefree spirits contrasting sharply with the weight of her thoughts. She whispered a quick prayer for strength. "Hey, you okay?" Clara's voice broke through her reverie, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, what if no one cares? What if they think we're wasting our time?" Maria's voice trembled slightly, the doubt threatening to spill over. Claire offered a reassuring smile. "They show up for a reason. They want to be part of something bigger. Just look around." Maria took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. Families were gathering, shifting from casual greetings to more animated discussions. The energy was infectious. As the clock ticked closer to start time, Maria turned to see Julia leap onto a small stage, hands raised in excitement. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're here because we believe in each other." Cheers erupted from the crowd. It was a simple statement, but it resonated deeply. The meeting unfolded beautifully, with stories shared and connections formed. Founders of local organizations offered to collaborate and bring resources. Parents voiced their concerns, not just about what had happened to Lucas' family, but other issues they faced daily. Each worry echoed through the crowd, sparking conversations that twisted and turned like vines striving to reach the light. As Maria spoke about the vision of a stronger community, she felt the fear that had threatened to root her in place begin to dissipate. People were listening. They were nodding, affirming the need for change. Lucas was there, too, sitting on a blanket with Aisha's children, blissfully unaware of the power of what was unfolding around him. But amid the hopeful dialogues and plans forming, Maria felt a sudden chill. From across the park, a group of men lingered, whispering and glancing their way. Their expressions darkened the atmosphere, turning the vibrant buzz into a weighty cloud. "Why are they here?" Claire whispered, catching the tension in the air. "They don't seem friendly," Aisha replied, her eyes narrowing, assessing the situation as the men approached. Maria's heart raced again, this time for a different reason. A wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Were they here to disrupt this gathering of hope? "Let us stay together," she instructed firmly, summoning her courage. Nova knew that this moment was crucial, a test of their newfound strength. "Excuse me," one of the men barked as he reached them. "What's going on here?" A silence fell, tension tightening around them like a noose. Maria stepped forward, voice steady. "We are creating a community, ready to support one another." The man smirked, a grimace that sent a jolt of fear through her. "Build a community? Looks more like a waste of time to me." Maria's heart thudded violently as she locked eyes with Lucas, who had shifted to sit up, curiosity marking his little face. Would she crumble under their scrutiny? Or would she find the strength to challenge their dismissive attitude, to protect the fragile hope that was blooming? With a deep breath, she straightened her shoulders and gripped the microphone tighter. "If you think that waste is simply people coming together, then you don't understand what true strength looks like." The crowd shifted at her words, murmurs rippling through the gathering. Everyone was waiting, bated breath hanging in the air. Maria knew this moment could either shatter their fragile progress, or affirm it. What happened next could change everything. The crowd held its breath, a sea of faces shifting from uncertainty to courage at Maria's defiance. What had once felt like an insurmountable wall began to crack, and she could feel the collective heartbeat of the community pulsing stronger behind her words. Waste of time? Maria continued, her voice gaining momentum. What is wasted is not when we gather together, but when we choose to stand apart. Lucas deserves a community that stands up for him. We all do. Her heart raced, and a burning intensity lit her eyes. The men exchanged glances, but the confidence in Maria's stance made them hesitate. An inexplicable warmth spread through the crowd, and one by one, nods of agreement surfaced. "Yeah, we're stronger together," shouted a voice from the back. It was an elder woman, her voice gravelly but resolute. Community is not something that's built overnight. It's about trust and support. Another joined in, her arms crossed confidently. A ripple of energy surged through the gathered families as praises flowed like water, drowning the negativity as the men stepped back. Their bravado faltered. Maria heard whispers traveling through the crowd like a quickening wind. It buoyed her spirit. She could see her friends Claire, Julia, Aisha standing by her side, together reaffirming this pact they were creating. But just as she seemed to be gaining control, a sudden shout from one of the men snapped through the air like a whip. "You think this will change anything? You're setting yourself up for disappointment." The words were harsh, aimed to shatter the collective hope. Gasps breathed through the crowd. Maria felt her heart constrict. Doubt threatened to seep in again. She peered at the faces around her, searching for strength. She could see fear, yes, but more importantly, she saw determination. "No, we are not going to let frustration cloud our vision," she declared, her voice ringing loud now, as if to echo in the hearts of everyone present. Lucas shows us what it means to rely on one another. We are not just neighbors. We are a family, and together we can be the change we want to see. The atmosphere began to crackle with unity. Parents nodded their heads in agreement, exchanging glances that said they were ready to rise. The moment felt electric. In that slice of time, Maria realized they were not just defending an idea. They were igniting a movement. Somewhere in the back, a father raised his voice. "If we're going to be a family, let us start with the needs we see around us. We can pool our resources to make this a better place." Cheers accompanied his words, voices rising together as if conducting an orchestra of hope. The men, unable to shatter their resolve, muttered curses and retreated, leaving an open space filled with possibility as the tensions eased. Maria felt an unfamiliar swell of energy flooding through her veins. She turned to see Lucas laughing with Aisha's children, blissfully unaware of what just transpired. The weight she had carried so stubbornly began to lift, replaced by a surge of purpose. But then, the sky darkened as a low rumble rolled over the park. Suddenly, the crowd grew uneasy again, glancing toward the storm threatening their fragile moment. What could shatter the hope they had just begun to build? Would the looming storm be one of nature, or something darker, pushing against their unity? Maria's heartbeat quickened. She wanted to move forward, to protect what they had started. Yet the skies above began to roar louder. As the first drops of rain fell, she caught a look of concern on Clara's face. Would the weather disrupt their gathering, or could it fortify them? "Let us not run," Maria urged, her voice rising above the whispers of fear. "If we face this together, we can weather any storm." The rain splashed against the ground, but they remained, standing steadfast. Maria looked around, excitement colliding with unease. Would this tempest serve as a test of their commitment or a catalyst for change? It felt like a turning point, but the hardest choice still loomed ahead. The first drops turned to a steady rain, drenching the park and soaking into the ground beneath them. But still, Maria stood strong, her feet planted firmly, emboldened by the faces of her friends and neighbors around her. The storm was picking up, but so was the energy in the crowd. It was contagious, this feeling of togetherness, making the rain seem less like a threat and more like a baptism of resolve. "Come on," Claire shouted over the roar of the storm, her cheeks flushed with adrenaline. Let us take shelter in the community center. We can keep talking there. Maria nodded, her mind racing. They couldn't let the rain drown their moment. They had to carry this momentum, this hope into the next space. Even if the skies were turning angry as they made their way toward the center, laughter mingled with the sound of raindrops hitting the pavement. Kids splashed through puddles, their innocent joy cutting through the tension, while the adults hurried to find dry ground. The sight warmed Maria's heart. These families had each other. They were bonding not only over equality but also in a shared experience of a storm turning into a shared adventure. Inside the center, the atmosphere shifted. The echo of rain faded, replaced by the buzz of conversation and the scent of old wood and freshly baked bread from the kitchen. The community center held generations of stories. Memories hung in every corner. Maria felt a wave of nostalgia wash over her as she marveled at the sketchy murals painted on the walls, each capturing a moment in their neighborhood's history. "We should get started," Julia urged, gathering everyone's attention. "What do we want to do for Lucas? Let's plan our next steps right here, right now." The crowd settled down, some pulling chairs closer, while others leaned against the walls. They were all here. An undercurrent of urgency wove through the room. These were people who wanted their voices to matter, their efforts to create a real change. "Maybe we can start with a fundraiser?" suggested one of the fathers, still catching his breath from the sprint through the rain. "Create something that brings everyone together, like a community potluck." "Yes," Aisha piped in, her eyes shining. "We can invite the entire neighborhood. Let us show them who we are." Cheers erupted, and Maria fought back tears. They weren't just talking. They were creating a plan. Each idea built on the other, all shining with the same fire that had ignited in the park. But, just as the chatter grew louder, a triumphant voice broke through. It was the elder woman from the gathering. "This is great, but how about we don't just stop with Lucas? How can we help everyone? What about?" Suddenly, the energy in the room shifted again. Her question hung heavy in the air, as if the reality of their situation had just sunk in. The existence of needs stretched far beyond just one boy or one cause. Maria's heart raced. The overwhelm threatened to crush her newfound joy. What if we take this further? She wondered aloud, trying to rally her thoughts. What if we create an ongoing community project? A way to keep coming together month after month? The collective pause was powerful. It gave Maria hope, paired with fear. Would they be able to sustain this energy? Could they really commit to a long-term change, even in the face of inevitable challenges? As they found their footing again, pondering the possibilities ahead, the rain poured harder outside. But Maria could only feel the heat of excitement building within. What would they decide, here and now, that could transform their community for good? Amid their discussions, a shadow loomed. A figure stood at the doorway, water dripping from his jacket, watching them closely. Who was it? What did he want? The air thickened with uncertainty as the door creaked, threatening to alter the course of their plans. The room fell silent, the collective breath held as the figure stepped forward, shaking off rain like a dog emerging from a swim. He was tall, with a kind face, weathered but warm, and flickers of recognition darted through the crowd. "Lucas's father," Claire whispered, and the name settled over the space like a blanket. There was an air of respect that intertwined with curiosity. "Why was he here?" "Sorry to intrude," he said, his voice steady yet soft, gaining everyone's attention. "I just came from the hospital." The weight of his words hung heavily, thickening the air around them. Maria stepped forward hesitantly, her heart racing. "Your son, how is he?" "Stable. But he needs more than just care. He needs our community." Lucas's father wiped his brow, rain mixing with the sweat, and then he scanned the crowd. "I heard you all talking about a fundraiser and bringing the neighborhood together. I came to say thank you for not forgetting my boy." As powerful emotion surged through the room, Maria could see tears glistening in the corners of eyes. The resolve that had sparked outside now ignited with undeniable fervor in the community center. "But," Lucas's father continued, his tone shifting, "we need to have this be bigger. Lucas needs a lot of treatment. Things aren't going to be easy, And you all can't do this alone. Aisha stepped forward, her heart pounding. We can and we will. We're stronger together. We'll do whatever it takes. Her voice rose, infectious determination sweeping through the group. The room erupted in agreement. Maria felt the energy swell, her own heartbeat sinking with the collective hope rising around her. But a heaviness still loomed over them. Maria turned her eyes to Lucas's father. What do you need from us? I need you to promise that this community will always stand for Lucas. And not just for him, but for others like him. It's not just about fundraisers. It's about starting something that lasts. Maria took a deep breath, clarity unfolding in her mind. We can create a foundation, a community support group. Regular outreach, events, and resources for families like yours. We can keep the warmth of what we're building alive so no one has to struggle alone. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd again, excitement buzzing like electricity. The elder woman raised her hand, her voice steady. And we need to include everyone's voices, the families, the businesses, the schools. We can create something that no one can stop. Yes, shouted Claire, her spirit radiating joy amidst the storm brewing outside. Let us have our first meeting next week. We can start with the potluck and share our ideas. The sense of rush washed over Maria. There was so much potential, so much uncharted territory. But we need to act fast. If we want to help Lucas fully, we need to fund this foundation quickly. The father nodded slowly, gratitude spilling from his eyes. You realize what this might mean for Lucas, and for everyone. And we realize that together, we can weather any storm, Maria said, her voice steady. Hope surged through her veins. Let us build something they can't tear down. Just then, the rain stopped abruptly, as if the universe was listening. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow across the room. Gasps arose around the center as everyone turned to the window, witnessing a perfect rainbow forming outside. At that moment, something shifted. The whole world felt possible, dazzling and vibrant, teeming with promise. But as the light illuminated their faces, Maria couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Could they truly be the force for change that Lucas needed? As discussions picked up again, Maria caught a glimpse of Lucas's father, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. He wanted hope, but at what cost? Who would lead the charge when doubt began to creep in? Would their fire be enough to light the way forward? The following week unfolded with a burst of energy that electrified the neighborhood. Maria, Julia, Aisha, Claire, and the community members immersed themselves in planning the first potluck fundraiser. The air buzzed with excitement and newfound purpose. Maria found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activities. She was busy reaching out to local businesses, seeking donations and support. Each text, each phone call sent ripples of connection through the community. People began opening their hearts and resources. As she pieced together the building blocks of their foundation, Maria could feel her own heart swelling with hope. The vision she held for Lucas and the others began to manifest before her eyes. On the day of the potluck, the sun gleamed down, casting a golden light that seemed to bless their efforts. Tables were adorned with colorful spreads of food, homemade dishes from neighbors, each a labor of love, a piece of their stories woven into the fabric of the day. Laughter rang out, a brilliant melodic hum that drowned out previous doubts and fears. When Lucas and his father arrived, the atmosphere shifted. There was a collective gasp as people turned, eyes shimmering with empathy and admiration. Lucas wore a brave smile, the gleam of his innocence a reminder of the stakes at hand. Maria, standing beside him, felt a rush of determination take hold. She reached out, squeezing his small hand. "You're the heart of this, you know that?" At that moment, Lucas beamed, and something vulnerable but pure shined in his eyes. As community members gathered around to give their support, Maria felt the collective heartbeat of hope swell around her, one that echoed the determination she saw reflected in every face. Together, they spoke, shared stories, and rallied for the cause that had brought them all together. Each voice created a chorus of strength and solidarity as they set plans in motion for ongoing support not just for Lucas, but for every family in need. Children ran around, but instead of isolation, Maria noticed connections forming. Parents exchanged numbers, creating networks of support that felt true and honest. As the potluck continued, the warmth wrapped around them like a soft blanket, making past divisions melt away. Finally, it came time for Maria to speak. Tremors of anticipation coursed through her. How could she find the right words? As she stood before the gathering, cresting the swell of emotion within the room, she looked out at the faces that had come together in the spirit of community. Just look at all this love, she began, her voice echoing through the crowd. What we've built here isn't just for Lucas. It's for all our families. Every dish here carries a story. Every shared moment represents the potential we have to foster hope and resilience. Together, we have the power to be more than just neighbors. We can be a family. The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of affirmation that swept over her. For the first time, Maria felt a true connection blossom in her chest, a realization that they were all in this together. As the event wrapped up, Lucas's father approached Maria, tears glistening in his eyes. "Thank you," he murmured with genuine emotion. "Your kindness means the world to us. You've created something incredible." His gratitude felt like a warm embrace, but it was also a reminder of the weight they still carried. "We're just getting started," Maria replied, her heart pounding with dynamic possibility. "This is just the first chapter." The next weeks brought challenges, but the potluck ignited a fire within the community that couldn't be snuffed out. Family affairs became routine, and soon they formed committees to address ongoing needs, unraveling the complicated issues facing their neighbors. Each step forward filled Maria with hope, and slowly, but surely, a foundation blossomed in the wake of their newfound resolve. Maria often found herself glancing at the colorful flyer still taped to her own front door, "Neighbors United." As she thought of Lucas, his bright smile amidst the struggles that still lay ahead, Maria felt driven to fight for the future they were building. She also understood that this wasn't just about assisting Lucas. It was about igniting something larger in their hearts. With her friends by her side, Maria felt confidence surge through her. Their journey would never be without challenges, but in the quiet moments, filled with laughter and unity, they had transformed from four indulged friends into community warriors, ready to confront adversity and embrace the beauty of their shared humanity. In the darkest moments and the brightest days, they would stand strong, never again merely passing by with indifference, but connected through compassion, understanding, and a shared mission. She stood looking out over the community that had rallied around their cause. A radiant smile broke across her face. Hope pulsed in the air, steady as a heartbeat, unanswered but filled with promise. And Maria realized, as rainbows arched across the sky, they would face whatever storms lay ahead together. Now it's your turn to be part of this amazing journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the message of hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformative journey. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support this channel, because it's the moment for us to unite. Don't wait not even one more second to share.